Hello everyone to today's mentor session. I am Ankita Dete, Program Manager of Hackatra. Today we are joined by Gaurav Mittal sir, an IT manager with over 15 years of experience and prominent in AWS and data science, with a strong background in strategic planning, budget management, and driving productivity through innovative solutions. They are here to share valuable insights and discuss how technology can drive our goals forward. Over to you, sir. Also, for any questions or if you need any assistance during the session, please feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, so I need to, can you enable sharing my screen so that I can share my PPT?
Yes, yes. Are you able
Okay.
to share your screen?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining my talk. I'm going to present an industrial use case, which is like securing email attachments. This is a security topic, and the whole implementation I'm going to implement through AWS architecture. So that is my topic for today. Uh, uh, okay. So right now, what happens in today's world, if we look all like most of the organizations, they have their own customers whom they are required to send emails. These organizations, they can be like insurance organization. They are sending you rental insurance, vehicle insurance, or like in your medical industry where medical transaction receipts are there, or like even there are some countries which are sending you e-visa as an attachment which contains your passport. All this information is your PII data, which is very sensitive, and there are chances of fraud. These frauds, they are mainly known as phishing email attacks. Few of the potential risk I have highlighted here. The most common is like man in the middle attack. So what happens when an email which is originated from like suppose an unsecured server, it can be hacked by a hacker while the email is in transaction, and your PII data is prone to fraud. Another part is like when you are not implementing encryption. So what happens? Anyone in between can get unauthorized access, and can look over the content of the email, the attachments, and again your sensitive data is prone to fraud. So, what is the solution for it? What organizations they are doing for it? So the answer is like a data security. In data security, there are some common terminologies: authentication, authorization. Authentication is like controlling the access by the login credentials. Only the people whom you allow, they can access that particular website. They can look over the data. Authorization is digging a step further based on the roles. We are saying like up to what content of the information you can view. And the most common part of data security, what is being implemented is like the strategy is encryption. So in encryption, what happens whenever there is a raw data, that data is being encrypted by using a key, and the customer at the receiving hand, whom we want to show this data, is being provided with a decrypt key. So there are some services in AWS, like we have KMS service. Otherwise, simple way is the data masking. You can mask the data. It can be unmasked by the customer at the receiving end, and you can achieve data security in this kind of formats. So this is about data security, but how can we secure the email attachments? So the most simple way is, okay, you educate the users, you spread the awareness that please start using encrypted email servers. It will help. or antivirus software, which most of the organizations they are doing it. But what we can do at our end, when the companies they are sending the emails, so they can use encryption technology, which is like the easiest way is password protection. And on top of that, there is another feature, access control. Access control will let you know, will let you control the access for only a specific amount of time. So these two features are there, which a developer, which an organization, before sending out any external email, they can achieve. Now I'm moving towards the implementation part, like how we can implement it. The first part was password protection. There is an open source library, PyMinijip library. Using this library, if you look in the diagram also, there was a raw file. You provide there is a method compress, and using this method, like you need to provide the location of your original file. The destination file is where you want to persist the new file. You put a password to this particular file. So this password you provide. And the fourth argument is the level. Level is like, okay, what is the compression level you want to do? So what we are trying to achieve here. So we have a raw file. We are saying, okay, we are going to encrypt this particular file by using a password. So only the people who know the password, they would be able to decrypt it. When we use PyMinijip, this library will compress the original file into a zipped folder, and when you will try to unzip the folder, it will ask you a password. For easiness, what happens, this password you can keep the person's information, like his DL number or SSN or something like the last four digits mobile number, last four digits of SSN, the information which only that person knows. What is the benefit of it? The benefit is now you are curtailing the discussions. Hey, can you please reset my password? So we are keeping the password which is only and only user know, and they can achieve it. But actually it all depends on the organization implementation, how they want to do it. But the intent here is instead of sending the raw file, we are now sending a encrypted file through a password. So how we can achieve this in AWS when like if we are building any architecture in AWS, how we can do it? So in AWS Lambda, we have a concept called Lambda layers. Lambda layers is like a zip file archive. If you want to provide some extra libraries to your Lambda function, you need to create Lambda layers. And similarly, in our use case, we want to create a layer for PyMinijip library. Installation for this library is quite simple. In Python, we have a pip command. Using that, you can install it. And as shown in the right hand side, a folder will be created in your local. And once you add a layer, you will be able to see in AWS Lambda that, okay, this is the layer what you have added. In my case, I have kept the name simple, PyMinijip. And the 13th is the layer version, what I have given. What is the compatible runtime? What is the operating system I'm trying to use? Every information you can see it's visible in the AWS Lambda function. So we have we have encrypted the file by using password protected library PyMinijip. Moving to the second step, which is like access control. So access control we can achieve using S3 signed URLs, pre-signed URLs. What is it? What happens, like you have some objects which are being placed in S3 bucket, and now you want your customers to take a look over this objects. Obviously, you will not want your AWS infrastructure access to be given to them. So one easy way to do it is using pre-signed URLs. It is a bypass route providing you temporary access to that particular object. And on top of that, you can also put a limit for how long users they can access that particular object. What is the benefit of it? For example, suppose you are getting any email and you have by mistake forwarded it to any wrong person. But if that particular object can be accessible only for a certain amount of time, post then they will just receive this URL is not working any longer. So we are controlling the access. And secondly, we are also not giving or passing our AWS credentials, no change in IAM policy required. You have just given one URL, it's a temporary auth URL. Anyone, like the person whom you are intending, they can access it, they can upload, download, and you are not sending any attachment. So I have talked about the validity. Actually, validity depends on how you are creating this pre-signed URL. So if you are creating it using IAM instance profile, it is valid for only 6 hours. But if you are using STS service, which is security token service, it can be valid for 36 hours. And the final is like IAM user, then it is valid for 7 days. Okay. So it depends on your organization use case, like for how long you want your users to access the URL. Depending on that, you can use any of these profiles and you can generate the URL. So this is how the email will look like when you will use PyMiniZip as well as pre-signed URL. What is the benefit of it? If you look in this particular email, there is no attachment. Okay. What happens from your Lambda when you are trying to attach a file? It takes time. And Lambda is pay as you go service. But now we are not attaching it. So we are saving the time, we are saving the money. And we are just sending one URL. And that URL also is accessible only for certain amount of time. On top of that, this URL is password protected. When the user will click on it, it will ask for a password. So only the person who is knowing that password can access this. Otherwise, the content is fully secure. So this is how we can save any fraud happening from our sensitive information. The This is another like the final service AWS SES. Like you have implemented your code in Lambda, but if you want to send the send the email from AWS, then you have to use the SES service, send email service. And SES service, we can create verified identities as well as, to send the emails to unknown person. Like we don't need to create unverified identities. It provides a flexibility that into uh, the people whom you want to send the emails, they can be verified or unverified identity. But from like the person who is sending the email, that email address should be verified. Now, SEA service works very well. There is only one challenge, which is like only 40 emails per second can be sent. So you need to use some time limit, like, okay, how many emails they are being sent per second, post then just wait. Otherwise, it will reach its throttling limit. So here is the final code, how the code will look like. So if we look in the first one, I'm using PyMiniZip library. There is a file, what I have. I want to like zip it. I want to use a password and I have provided the compress level to it. The second part is, okay, I have mentioned, okay, how long this URL will be valid. So I'm using IAM user profile, which says it can be valid for 7 working days. So this URL will be valid for 7 working days. And the third point, what I have mentioned, like SES service has a limitation. So after sending the email, actually, I was waiting for 1 second just to make sure like there is no, it's not reaching the limit. So that's why I've used time.sleep method. Now this is the complete architecture in AWS, like how it will look like. I am reading a file, then using PyMiniZip library. I am going to create a zip folder, password protected, which is, and then what I am doing, I am generating a S3 signed URL, and using that S3 signed URL in AWS Lambda, I am sending the emails to verified and unverified content. Now, if you look, the file is secure. It is password protected. It is valid for some particular time limit, and only the people whom I want, they can access it. And the emails, they are being sent in a very secure fashion. So that's all what I have to present today. Let me know if you guys have any question. I have written an article also on this particular topic, and my solution has been accepted by a couple of organizations. So I thought like it's a learning session, hence I have chosen this for today. But if you guys have any question, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to answer any questions. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions for me.
Yes, so that was a meaningful session. For questions, I have a question. So, are there any specific encryption techniques for pi-minizip library?
Are there any specific encryptions for?
Encryption techniques which a pi-minizip library uses
Yeah,
to secure.
yeah. So PyManageable library is using password protection encryption. So what happens, like you are placing the file uh, like on top of the file, you are just using an encryption. That encryption is asking you a password. It's like a key. So if you know the key, then only you can unlock the contents of the file. Now this password, like you can keep it yourself, like okay, this is the password, and you can tell customers separately. Or the easiest way to do it, you put it as the customer's PII information, which only they know. So in that case, you are also curtailing, you are cutting off the communication that okay, what is my password? You can say, okay, this is the last four digit of your phone number or last four digit of your driving license number. So to answer your question, the encryption what I have used here is the password protection.
Okay. Yes, got it. I guess that's it for the questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and guidance. It was a good session and it was nice to have you here.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts to share?